Welcome, everybody, to the Power of Your Voice podcast. And I'm your host, Mike Murphy. And again, I want to thank you again for all the likes, the subscribes, but most importantly, the sharing of the content, because that's what turns me on. We're bringing you powerful content, and there's certain people that need to hear it. So when you share with those people that need to hear this, you're changing lives. And that's my mission right now, is to wake people up to the truth and have them transform and become the best version of themselves. And so speaking of that, that's what Mountains of Hope is all about. Our Healing Retreat Center here in Colombia, South America. Our first retreat is January 6th. We have a grand opening 20% discount. We did a value proposition today. We listed all the value received. Now, of course, if you get a healing or you transform and become the best version of yourself, that's priceless. But it's a $22,000 real value, and you can get in for as low as $8,000 for 16 days of healing and transformation. So go to www.mountainsofhope.com and check it out. January 6th is our first transformational healing retreat. So for today's topic, is the greatest experience of freedom ever was created in the United States of America, went on to become the greatest country in the world. Is it in danger of falling and being replaced as the global superpower today? Well, today's guest is going to be able to answer that question, and it has a lot of insight and a lot of great ideas. Dr.SHIVA is a PhD from MIT, the inventor of email. He's a scientist, an inventor, an entrepreneur, and a Fulbright scholar who holds 4 degrees from MIT, including his PhD in biological engineering. He started 7 successful high-tech companies, providing thousands of jobs in Massachusetts. His life has been about solving very tough problems by identifying the root cause, bringing together people to innovate real solutions. Now, he wants to serve America. Beyond the left and the right, 2 wings to the same bird, to deliver solutions we need and deserve. Most importantly, Dr.SHIVA is one of us, not a lawyer, not a lobbyist, and not a politician. Welcome to the show, Dr.SHIVA.
Great to be here, Mike.
I have to, can I share one thing with you? First of all, I listened to you a lot when the pandemic started, and then you ran, and then you kind of, went away, and now you're back, at least in my world.
Oh, people need to understand the reason I went away, Mike, was I was thrown off because we exposed the backdoor portal into Twitter,
Yes. And which was brilliant. So, but here's what's interesting. You have 4 degrees from MIT. I have an 8th grade education. I went to your site, your first president site. I watched your talk. You've identified and nailed every problem in the United States. You've identified every solution. You have the solutions, which are obvious to anybody that's awake and paying attention. But my question is, why are you doing this to yourself?
Well, I'm not doing anything to myself, Mike. It's my life mission. This is a trajectory that, if you wanted to talk about it, that I was put on. And it's really, there's a thing called a hero's journey. We all have a hero's journey. It wasn't my choice to be born into a life of a low caste Indian in India, having to experience those inequities. It wasn't my choice in many ways to even, in some ways, to end up at MIT in some fundamental ways. It was a force that moved me there because I didn't actually want to go there. I didn't even know about it. The level of racism I suffered at the Zionist school that I went to never even told me about, even though I was a #1 student out of 4,000 kids. Think about that, right?
Yeah.
It was a random chain of events of my mom helping some homeless people, which resulted in my going to MIT.
Yeah.
All right. And so I didn't want to go there. In fact, after I saw that, I found the place unhealthy, but I was put there because I could learn how, almost like a Forrest Gump, ending up in these very interesting situations, be it MIT, understanding how the elites work, going to Hollywood, going to the centers of power in India, and always walking away because I had such a deep hatred for these people. I could not sell out because I never forgot where I came from. But the thing is, I really believe there is free will, right? That you can choose to do whatever the hell you want, murder people, exploit people, or when you're in resonance with spirit, you're just moved to do God's work. And I never thought I'd use these words, Mike, but over the last 48 hours, after I see the fact that the level of deception of it, which I've been talking about all my life, but we live where that deception is at a heightened point. And that deception is expressed in Zionism. And we need to discuss this. And it is abusive to all working people, be it the Israeli people, be it the Palestinian people, be it the American people, the Indian people, all people of the world, except the 0.0001% of satanic people. So the really question, and so, my title that I put out on our channel was, really the deception. And it's good for people to understand this. It's good to see the characters, actually see who these people are. And right now, the deception is being done by two individuals at an extreme level. Booby effing Kennedy, he's a spawn of Satan, and Netanyahu. All of these people are absolutely fine of the butchering of the Palestinian people, the butchering, for that matter, of the Israeli people who've been abused, have been used by Netanyahu, who is really Satan, and Kennedy is Satan. They're Satan's puppets. And it may seem harsh, but we need to talk about it in these terms, because then it becomes very real, because then people have to ask me, well, prove to me. And then I can give you the proof of that too. Proof meaning from a very deeply spiritual level. And that's where we're at.
And let me clarify one thing, because it's my understanding, my opinion, that Zionism has nothing to do with Judaism. Zionism is a political mess, and Judaism is a religion.
Right. It's a political ideology. So I think the broad thing we need to think about is this. It's really about the deception of what's going on. There are, at the time of any teaching, philosophy, religion, the religious leaders who were there at the time, at the time, right, when these people existed, and you could look at it in all different ideologies, be it the founding of the American, right, or Buddha, or the works of Jesus, or the works of any great, enlightened being. You could even say they were agents of God, right? And I don't want to get detailed into that, but if you even ascribe that to them, they spoke pure truth. And then what happens is, in order to blunt their edge of what these people spoke, generations later, these people, at the time that they existed, they're hounded, they're attacked, they're abused, they're made to, with the most vile things that the establishment of the time does to these people, even crucify them, okay? Whatever they do, right? But after they're dead, something interesting happens, Mike. Those in power, in order to blunt the edge of those teachings, they do two things: either iconize them into some heroes, build statues for them. Everyone wears a cross and, whatever, right? They make symbols of these people. But at the time when they were existed fighting the good fight, they're destroyed, they're hounded, etc. But after they die, the elites can make them an icon. And then they overtake their narrative. It's very, very powerful what they do. And then the other thing they do is they actually hijack those teachings. So I'll give you various examples of this deception. If you look at the origins of the concept of the yogic sciences, right? If you go to the knowledge of the spiritual ideas that came out of India, they were fully integrated. They integrated mind and body, right? They were about you becoming a co-creator with God, right? That's what it was about. And the idea was that the fight against evil there was eliminating all these forces that stopped you from connecting with yourself. And, as Christ said, the kingdom of heaven is within you, right? So those are the teachings of the time. They were very pure. They existed. People practiced it, right? But these forces of evil are always there. It's not like evil just goes away. There's a constant contradiction that people have to be vigilant about. And when people let down the guard, these forces take over very, very quickly. Yes. So what happened in the Indian yogic system was, this was a very, very powerful system, but it was based on sadhana, which means your work, your merit, what you put in. So any person could become a great enlightened being and a great guru or a teacher, anyone, based on your work, meritocracy. Somewhere along the way, those in power did not like that concept. They don't like meritocracy. They don't like true hard work. They don't like labor being more important than capital, right? They want matter and materialism to be much more important than the spirit of your work. This is very, very fundamental. And all the great philosophers, you can even, if you read the works of Marx, in Das Kapital, he talks about it. Christ talked about it. All the way from whether you're an atheist or a non-atheist, it doesn't matter. At the foundations of this was this central principle about your work striving to eliminate all these barriers between you and your creator. This was very central to all these teachings, right? But in India, what happened was these teachings were taken over, where no longer began your work, how you where you were given the level of respect and love in society. There was respect. There was a concept of, hey, that guy worked really hard. I am going to recognize him. I will have respect for him, right? So there was a concept of a hierarchy, but it was a natural hierarchy that came from your works, right? Well, that hierarchy got twisted. Oh, Shiva worked really hard and he achieved this level of status. Now I have a son. Overnight, my son also gets all that. The concept of inheritance, the concept of birthright, okay? This was never these fundamental concepts. No, you have a son. Well, he's going to have to work his butt off. He's going to have to prove himself as an agent of good, right? And so this concept of caste inheritance came into the Indian system. And then they, in order to justify that, Mike, what they did is they took the ancient teachings and they manipulated them very cleverly. In India, the Brahmins did this. Very slimy individuals. The real Brahmanism was you could be a great teacher and a guru. There was a concept of a true Brahmin. Brahmin means one with the creator, right? Brahma was a creator, right? Abraham from Brahma. Very interesting. Abram, right?
Right.
So the concept of you being one with your creator always existed, but it came from your works. But the real evil took over, the deception, really the agent of Satan was taking over that and making it no longer about your work, but making it about bloodlines. You see, birthright. And that began the caste system in India. But then they took these ancient teachings and then they twisted it. The notion of karma, for example. Karma was really about input. There's two words in karma. A lot of the so-called spiritual people, there's karma and there's karma fall. Fall in Sanskrit means the fruit of action. Okay? So there's right action and the fruits of your action. So there's like two words. So it's actually beyond even cause and effect. It's input and output in a deeper way. Now that got twisted somewhere along the way to say, oh, this is how they very clever people in terms of marketing. They said, oh, well, you know, you're born into a family of toilet cleaners. It's your karma now to clean toilets all the rest of your life, because karma means that you did something wrong in your past life. They had no data of any of this shit. Just made it up. Okay.
Right.
Okay, just made it up. So they took these very fundamental concepts and hijacked them. It no longer, and it became about bloodlines. And the caste system came into being in India. It got fossilized until many years later, and around the 8th and 9th century, some honest spiritual leaders said, wait a minute, we're trying to really create a world where there's truth, right? All these important concepts. If there's equality in heaven, we're trying to create that here, there should be equality on earth. So then these people went back and read the original text, and they said, this caste system stuff is nonsense. So over a period of time, and in India it was called the Bhakti movement. In the 8th century, the Bhakti movement, Bhakti means devotion to God. That's what Bhakti means, your heart-centered devotion. So as that movement evolved between the 8th and 15th century, it was breaking down the caste system. So you see, to me, you cannot be a spiritual human being without also being a warrior here and now. You can't say, well, I'm practicing, I'm an enlightened being, I'm working on myself. It's all bullshit. It's a very selfish concept, okay? So by the 8th and 15th century, these caste systems were breaking down because there was a revival of going back and looking at the original teachings. And that is what, when the British came to India and the Dutch and the Portuguese, they were interacting with that period in history where there was an enlightenment taking place in India. But the dark forces, again, didn't like that. because they wanted to exploit India all the wealth. So they actually brought back in the pre-8th century caste system. Again, they went and got these Brahmanical priests and they wrote a bunch of bullshit, took these original teachings and using the cleverness of words are very, very powerful, right? Writing, Socrates never liked the written word because it's like black magic. You could use words to manipulate people. And then they recodified the caste system in India. And most Indians don't know this. Most Indians are actually, I would say a lot of Indians, and I hate to say this, are actually racist and casteist. They have really no sense of freedom of speech even, okay? It's very important to understand. So I'm an anomaly to most of the Indians when I came to the United States. Most of them were Brahmins and hated me. They would ask my last name, trying to figure out which caste I was, okay? But anyway, that's what occurred when you look at the great teachings of India. And meditation and yoga were not something you just did there to achieve enlightenment. Meditation and yoga were the end process of what you were taught of being a good human being, you see? So all these teachings were upside down turned, pure deception. Now you take the Christian teachings. You have Christians calling for the annihilation and the genocide of the Palestinians, okay? Claiming they know what Israel is, claiming they know what Jesus talked about. If Jesus was here, he'd be striking down Kennedys and Netanyahus and Trumps. He'd be taking a whip to them, no doubt about it. And I can guarantee you, if you sit and you reflect, there's multiple times Christ went into the temple. He was going after the money changers, right? The bankers, the Sadducees and the Pharisees, who claimed they spoke the words of God. They're very scholarly. They knew all the words, but they were scumbags. These people were exploiting people. And Christ, when he took that cat of nine tails, I'm sure he didn't say, please move along. I'm sure he said, get the fuck out of here. Okay. I'm sure he used the most abusive words against them. So the elites have taught us what words to use and what not to use because they want us to be in their satanic world of incantations. You speak as a diplomat. You learn how all these words at Harvard and Yale. You learn how to look good. The deception. This guy, Vivek the Snake, they literally went and found a brown guy, a Brahmanical, brown-nosed, big pharma bullshitter to mentally replace that character with me, the real guy who's a real warrior. You see, it's very, very clever. So the deception is taking the real thing, giving a version of it, and then replacing it. Okay? And that's what Kennedy is. Booby fucking Kennedy, and that's what everyone should call him. And YouTube should allow this, and you should promote it. It should be put into their keyword algorithms that if you call him RFK Jr., they should penalize that. Because that's what this guy is. If you look at his entire family's history, they're pure evil. They're a satanic family, right? But again, the deception. They take Satan's spawn and make them look like they're great people. The father, Joe Kennedy, was a smuggler, right? A murderer, essentially a mobster. John Kennedy was a complete scumbag. He had VD, as a teenager, couldn't even get into the Navy. He was reckless. He was a fool. But fools with enough money and satanic power get elevated. The father got him into the Navy. He blew up a major ship, major blunder. Reed did that to make him look good, right? He's the one who brought the pure devil, Kissinger, into the White House. And this is all 1960. 1960, under the Kennedy administration, is when Satan took over the United States. That's if you want to put a number on, a date, think about 1960. And it was Kennedy, the agent of Satan, John F. Kennedy, and Kissinger. And by the way, no one should, everyone gets involved in, who killed Kennedy? Oliver Stone, let's make a movie. Guys, this is mobsters fighting mobsters, okay? They're all mobsters. And right. If you, as an individual, are spending all this time figuring this out, that's exactly where the devil wants you. These people are devils. The devil A may fight devil B. He may use devil A's consorts to do whatever they do. It doesn't matter to us. So if you look at the entire lineage of the Kennedys, pure evil. Booby fucking Kennedy promotes Big Pharma by saying, I'm going to get them to make safe vaccines. You see, very, very clever serpent-like words. He promoted lockdowns, and yet he confuses all these people. And by the way, most of the people he confuses are of mammon and matter. They want to sleep with Bobby Kennedy. A lot of these women, right? They want to be part of the Kennedy chic. But when you look at the facts and you were truly a godly person, wait a minute, this guy endorsed Hillary Clinton 3 times. Fact, go look at it openly. Wait a minute, Hillary Clinton is all about Monsanto and GMOs and destroying our natural environment, which they've done. Over here, Kennedy runs an organization called River Keepers. So he gives the image that he's fighting for clean water, but over here he promoted Hillary Clinton. Facts, deception. And you have to look at that. There's and anyone who says, well, he had to do that because he's in the Democratic Party, that's deceiving yourself. Fact, 28 women, at least he banged while he's married. His wife was so distraught, she hangs herself. And by the reports where she was putting her hands in the news trying to get it off. That's what people say. People should go do their own research. And then he buries her. And during the burial ceremony, they act like they're doing it among the Kennedys, prays over her coffin, deceiving everyone, has his PR agency take those beautiful pictures, release them. The next day, without permits, they exhumed her body and moved it to an unmarked grave. You see, this is pure deception.
Wow.
It's all about manipulating people, looking at what they actually did and putting a veneer on it. This guy, and you can keep going on, right? During the entire COVID scam, couples were taking principled stands. One guy said, I am for the vaccine. And the mother said no, and people divorced. But you have to give it to them. They took their principled stance. What did fucking Kennedy do? In his own family, first of all, he tells you, and it doesn't matter what year or what time, 5 years ago, he puts out a video. I am pro-vaccine. I believe in full vaccination of all Americans. What does that mean? That means he's okay with the government intervening and jabbing you. He vaccinated all of his kids. But for these 20 years, he's been the head of the quote unquote medical freedom movement. Come on. Deception, 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 making money off of that. But no one talks about this on mainstream media. It's right there in front of us. And then in 2022, he has a party at his home. Everyone has to be vaccinated with the mRNA vaccine before they come. When that story is discovered, he blames his wife. She wears her pants in the house. Ha, ha, ha. Wait a minute. People took principled stands. You didn't, and you're promoting yourself as a leader. You see, this is pure deception, devil. Now, the guy says he's for Children's Health Defense Fund, but you're okay for the butchering of the Palestinian people and supporting actually the butchering of the Israeli people. Because if you support Zionism, and he hangs around with people like Sheldon Adelson and Adelson's wife, we're the biggest Zionists in the world who fund Zionism. So all the data is right in front of us, but the satanic media will make him look like he's in opposition to them. You see, that's how clever they are. Ooh, Bobby Kennedy against the vaxxer, and he's right, but they promote him and they will actively make me invisible because I'm the real agent. Our movement, Truth, Freedom, Health, is a real force against it. So they're even afraid to make me controversial now, Mike, because they know when people dig, wait a minute, this guy's a real deal. So the idea is they make you invisible, right? And then you get to Netanyahu. I mean, this guy's Lucifer incarnate, in my view, along with Kennedy, because Netanyahu, the people of Israel themselves have been figuring out Netanyahu.
Right.
You have to talk about, it's not Hamas versus Israel. This is about the people versus those in power. And by the way, all of these Arab leaders have never supported the Palestinian people. They've let the butchering take place. They've let the concentration camps. They only intervene when it's convenient for them. Saudi Arabia, a destructive organization. Iraq, all of these so-called Arab leaders have never supported peace really in that region. They've used and abused these people. Right. And all the religious leaders, the Vatican, the Islamic mullahs, right? It's a disgrace that Hindus are supporting. I've met with Modi. I'm disgusted that he's supporting this onslaught, okay? But the bottom line is this. It is us versus them. It is good versus evil. And the good is the people of the world, regardless of what nationality, religion, and the them is a 0.001% I call the swarm, who are truly agents of Satan. And I wanted to talk about Kennedy and that, that's just an example. We could go to Trump, we could go to Elon Musk, we could go to Fucker Carlson, we go to all of them, okay? Vivek the Snake. You don't get mainstream media attention unless you're an agent of the devil. I'll repeat that again. If you're on mainstream media and they are interviewing you, asking your opinion, Joe Rogan, all these people, you are an agent of the devil. That's where we're at. You're an agent of fucking Satan. And that's the point. the issue with Zionism is black and white. There's no gray area. I have a very good friend of mine who's a Jewish professor. It's not even a gray area. You have to take a principled stand, right?
And the real question,
because what is Zionism?
Doc,
So,
listen, the thing that blows my mind, okay, we all know about Mossad. We all know about CIA. We all know about the intelligence agency for the Five Eyes. They knew this attack was coming, and they allowed it, I believe, to create a distraction because Netanyahu is in big trouble over there politically, and now everybody's taking their eye off that ball, and they're over here. But this is all orchestrated, in my opinion, from what I can tell. What do you think?
Yeah, the first tweet I did was the piece of shit Netanyahu orchestrated this, because in Israel, everyone can go look at it. It's memorialized, which is good. He did this because there have been massive protests against him. He's a corrupt, fraudulent human being. He's an organized criminal. Even the people of Israel hate this guy, okay? More people in America are convinced to support Netanyahu than people in Israel. So all
he's an American citizen. He's an American citizen.
Well, yeah. Well, any Jewish person can become
American citizen, an
Israeli citizen and a U.S. citizen. Important to understand. The entire cabinet of Trump, Biden, every U.S. president is filled with Israeli citizens.
Zionist,
okay, we need to Zionism. But the point is, Netanyahu is part of this organized crime network. That's what it's a crime syndicate. So he's always protected. How is a guy who's most hated in Israel become the prime minister? Right? You have to ask these fundamental questions. Because elections aren't elections in Israel either. So over the last 2 years, I was in Israel about 3 years ago, and even then, I remember at an event at a hotel, Netanyahu was there, came in and out, and that's when everyone was pissed with this guy. Okay, so this guy's a fraud. He's corrupt. He's pure evil, and the people of Israel have had enough with him. So this is very, very convenient. And look at the timing. I mean, it's fascinating. October 10th, Columbus Day, the period, and it's the same day Booby fucking Kennedy announces he's going as an independent, steals my slogan, declare your independence. Pure devil. Booby Kennedy, to everyone listening, literally comes to my website, sends his agents to our meeting. They scribe stuff down. We have all these examples, word for word, replicating stuff, putting it into their messaging. This is devil, pure devil. Okay. When I exposed him in 2020, I did 10 videos exposing him. He got so upset, he created a blog post saying devil's work, saying, I am a vaccine maker. I run a mathematics company which figures out combinations of compounds. Then he said that I am friends with Bill Gates because on one of my company's websites, we get a 10% discount off for Microsoft. We're a Microsoft business partner. And then he said, I work with the Clintons. The worst things you could say, I had to sue him. He kept running away from not being served. And then he defaulted. And then my own lawyer, who's a Zionist, Hoodlum, did serve him properly. So I have to take on that case. So you see, the devil is involved in protecting the agents of the devil. So I know these people on a personal note, okay? And it's important for people to understand that when you get to, so I talked about Hinduism, when you look at Zionism, you have these ancient philosophies of, Judaism, right? Christ was a Jew, right? There are the non-Ashkenazi Jews, and they would have looked physically very different than Christ, okay? A lot of the Ethiopian Jews who came to South India, they probably would have looked more like me, frankly, okay? Or if you go to South India, meaning the people, and so there was a huge trade between South India, Egypt, and Greece, right? I mean, a lot of people may not know, but St. Thomas is buried in India, in Chennai, in South India.
Yes,
right? And
there's actually in Kashmir a tomb where they say Jesus died around 71. There's a great book called Jesus Lived in India, and that's what I believe. I believe when he fled at 2 years old, he went there, he became a yogi, he came back, he changed water into wine, he disappeared again. When he was on the cross, he could go into deep meditation. When they put the mirror on his lips, it was actually an opiate. They put him into a deep sleep. They slowed down his heart. Most people are up there 3 days. He was there 3 hours. They wrap him in a shroud. He leaves. He's spotted by Mary and Martha, and he went to India, and that's where he's buried.
Yeah, I think there's a very fine word when you look at the old Aramaic, the word resurrection and resuscitation. I know Tamil, which is one of
Right.
the oldest languages in the world, and I know English. People who haven't had access to other languages, particularly ancient languages, very subtle things can change the entire meaning. All right. But it's a longer
Right.
discussion. But the bottom line is the University of Nalanda in India in ancient times, scholars came from all over the world. And there's
Yes.
a decent body of evidence to say a lot of the disciples, including Christ, were in India. And in fact, wonderful book was done looking at all the places in the Old Testament, the names of them. They match one to one, not in the Middle East, but actually North India and Kashmir. All the
Yeah.
regions they talk about match in that region. So the point
Yeah.
is, we don't even know the history of the world because of
Right.
of the deception.
The
You know,
victors write the history books.
right. So as president, I would, do a real history of the world analysis and bring scholars together. But nonetheless, if you follow this deception through, we don't truly know our history. All these religions have been taken over. I mean, come on, the Vatican, you're telling me you speak for Christ? Are you fucking crazy? I mean, I think I shared yesterday in an interview, this woman I knew used to hang out with the cardinals in the Vatican. And she said the most disgusting thing when she was at dinner with them, four of them were sitting around a table arguing who had the bigger ring and the emerald where it was from. I mean, these people are not, this is Satan, okay? So if you think the Vatican is representing Christ, you're out of your fucking mind. If you think the modern mullahs and the Islamic religions are representing the work of Muhammad, you're out of your fucking mind. Okay. If you think the Brahmanical model of the caste system is representing yoga and Indian systems of medicine, you're out of your mind. Okay. So all of this is pure deception, just like Kennedy coming to sending his people, stealing our material. I did a big talk, and this is the central thesis. My run for president is the tip of the spear of a global movement, and it's about you. He does a video exactly like that. Okay. And I have all the emails between Booby Kennedy, which I may release within one of his guys who worked with them, talking about how he will take the position of being the not so obvious establishment versus a true warrior to deceive people. Okay. But so he understands this. See, Satan actually understands this dynamic. And Satan is conscious. Trump is just a fucking idiot. Okay. Trump is also an agent of Satan, but a little bit lower. Okay. He doesn't have the brains to understand this. So he's just used. All right. But people like Booby fucking Kennedy, people like Netanyahu, these are pure agents of the devil. But whatever way you're in, you don't deserve to be a leader of any people, right? Because you're serving the devil. So Zionism was a complete twisting, a flipping on the head of the ancient teachings of even Judaism, right? And so that's what they've done. They take teachings, they hijack them, and then they speak the words of God, like Kennedy hijacking my stuff, speaking the words, literally speaking our words. So I think the real thing, Mike, is, and I think if you believe in God, I think God has done this purposefully to realize who, when they say the meek will inherit the earth, I have a very different view of that statement means. When it says a meek will inherit the earth, it means those people who want to be of materialism. I think the word meek means something, not what we think. I think meek means the people who don't have a lion heart, who are not courageous, who do not want to fight evil. They can have the earth. That's what I think Chris is really. You can have the earth, and the people who are true warriors who truly want to fight evil, they will be given access to heaven.
Yeah.
And heaven is a state of consciousness, you see? So my view on this is that this is really a test. Do you have the discernment to recognize Kennedy, Netanyahu, Joe Rogan? These are the agents of devil right now. Vivek the Snake, Trump, Fucker Carlson, go down the list, right? These people, it's obvious to see Nikki Haley's a scumbag. It's obvious to see the Bushes are scumbags. It's obvious to see Clinton as a scumbag, right? But the harder thing is to see Kennedy, you see? The harder thing is to see Trump as a scumbag. And this is why he's running as independent, because he knows we reached about 500 million people. In spite of their trying to make me invisible, the word is out there. So they probably had a meeting, and this is my thesis. They said, fuck, we need to figure this out. People are breaking from both wings of the establishment. Dr. Shiva has figured this out. He has huge brand equity among people who truly want truth, freedom, health. Booby, run as an independent, steal all of his shit, just steal it. Because the courts are owned by them by the time you sue them, right? And that's what they're doing. So it is not coincidental. He announced his run for independence on October 9th, the day that they're starting to do the bombing of Gaza. This is all time. And it is also the day that the stock market should have tanked. Wall Street knew about the bombing, the war was going to occur before. It is no coincidence that you let people in paratroopers come in with guns. I mean, I've been to Israel. The place is a police state. I was there 6 weeks, the fucking police state. Okay. Everything. I mean, the Mossad and the Israeli engineers always talk about how great they are, how they can, you know, satellites to detect anything. So whether it was Hamas attack, and by the way, on October 5th, Netanyahu authorized a raid with all of his fanatics into the Aqsa Mosque, which is the most sensitive place. I mean, you know, when you go to Jerusalem, in Jerusalem. So all of this was orchestrated. You have to be a fucking idiot if you don't understand this was orchestrated. It was orchestrated by Netanyahu, orchestrated by Kennedy to do his announcement, okay? It was orchestrated by Wall Street, and all of these people are part of the Zionist organized crime swarm network, every single one of them. So for the Americans listening here, I'm the only presidential candidate. My entire life has been fighting Zionism, my whole life. Zionism and Brahmanism, this concept of bloodlines, ruling versus meritocracy. That's what this is about. The satanic model is that bloodlines and you know, your birthright controls your position in the world. The view of God, or the true teachings, are that it is your work, it is your hard work, is it your sadhana, your penance, what you do to serve humanity that lifts you up at what level you're in society. And that's a concept of benevolence and compassion, right? But they have lifted up people who have no right to rule over us. And then on top of it, to add insult to injury, these people speak our words of the people and manipulate people to do them. But we have a historic opportunity right now, Mike, because the son of low caste Indians who somehow made it here, got all their fucking degrees, excelled at everything they did, figured out their system, and is educating people. You know, our movement, Truth, Freedom, Health, is really the framework that teaches people what is truth, freedom, health. What are the mechanics, the system dynamics of manipulation, okay? And how do we win? Which is us going bottoms up, us not using Satan or the devil's infrastructure, because social media is owned by Satan now. The government, the Zionists, the unholy alliance. Elon Musk is a complete Zionist hoodlum. And he's also a major deception. He's the one who was brought in to give all these conservative idiots the thing, oh yeah, we have free speech. He is doing censorship 10.0, where they put guys like me on, but they shadow ban you. They put you in a digital cave. So we live in a world of deception, absolute deception. But if you look at October 9th, Kennedy announces he's running as an independent. That's when they move into Gaza, all right? Wall Street was supposed to tank. When you look at all the data, it should be, it should be tanking right now. And so I felt that what they wanted to do was tank it. They needed a war, and then they're going to do quantitative easing. Those three things are what they're going to do, because the entire economy of Satan is not built on work, labor. It's built on
Ponzi
fumes.
scheme. It's a Ponzi scheme.
Total fucking, but it's not built on labor.
We don't make anything. Everybody's a fucking podcaster or an influencer, or we don't create anything. It's crazy, and the debt and the obligations that we're never going to be able to fulfill. I mean, I think the future of America is dim.
Well, I don't think so. This is what I think. Okay, it's dim if people follow these satanic individuals, from Kennedy to Netanyahu to Joe Rogan to Tucker Carlson to Trump to Nikki Haley to Vivek the Snake, right? Yes. But the thing is, Mike, that our movement exists now, and it's global. And our movement is the only force on this planet which can destroy Satan. I really believe that. And I say that because we have integrated the teachings of the ancient teachings with modern system science. That's a discovery that I made in 2007. I figured out that the ancient teachings, the true spiritual teachings, and engineering system science are one. And what's fascinating about that, what are engineers, plumbers, electricians? They actually do God's work. Engineers cannot bullshit. You know, you make something, if you have to make this, you know, bottle, this is engineering. And either it's going to, if you make it right, it's going to withstand shock. And it can a politician, can any one of these people, can they describe how this bottle was made? They can't. Can they make a computer? Can they write software? I mean, my job is I'm still a full-time engineer and scientist. I created email as a 14-year-old kid, created multiple companies. I know how to solve freaking problems. These guys create problems. And the question to everyone listening is, do you have respect for yourself? But more importantly, do you want to be on the side of Satan or God? It's a very simple question. Right. And if you want to be on the side of God, you have to recognize we live in an extraordinary time right now. And the run for president of the United States, I'm the only one, and you can look at my entire history from the age of 4, totally transparent, who's been fighting these people on a personal level and winning. I mean, by all accounts, Mike, there's no reason I should even be fucking here from where I came from. Born a low caste Indian, right? How do I make it to the United States? How do I get degrees, 4 degrees from MIT Excel? How do I then not sell out? How do I then figure this shit out? How do I then create the movement for truth, freedom, and health? It was my run for Senate in Massachusetts, which figured out the backdoor portal into Twitter. It was my run that exposed the fact that the election systems in gross detail. It was my run that was the first one to call out Fauci. Truth, freedom, health. That's what we did. And during that window between 2020 to end of 20, we got all this shit out there in those 9 months. 500 million people came to know about that before they clamped down. So what's, I think, real fascinating is that there was a period where the forces of good let us get our message out there, and that's what they're fucked with. So now they try to make me invisible, but everyone's like, wait a minute, he's the one who called, and Mike Lindell, complete dolt. He took my work, threw all sorts of other shit in and sold pillows. Trump took my work on the election stuff, made $500 million, didn't do anything. Booby Kennedy took my work and wrote a book on Fauci, but didn't say shit against Fauci in 2020 when it mattered. March of 2020. He promoted lockdown, Satan's work. Fucker Carlson had access to all of my stuff in 2020 when we won the federal lawsuit showing the government is controlling social media companies. Him and Glenn Greenwald sat on it for 2 years, then brought out the story because they wanted to own it, you see, and manipulate people. So Satan tells the truth when it's convenient for him. Right. That's what Satan does, and has his agents tell the truth, not so the full truth will be revealed, to manipulate them back to them. So exposing truth, being a podcaster, exposing truth, you're not fucking doing any work. I'm sorry. Right. Did you tell the truth at the right time? And did you mobilize people on the ground? That's what we did in 2020. In the physical cold, we went and organized massive anti-lockdown protests. And we won many vaccine mandate protests. We taught people how to fight. So the issue for everyone listening is, do you want to be a fucking fool and follow satanic people like Kennedy, Netanyahu, Joe Rogan, fucker Carlson, or do you want to embrace the fact that I made it this far and our movement is here and you will never have this choice again? So that's what this is about, Mike. It's in a very real way. The Shiva for President campaign is for truth, freedom, health. I'm one of us, man. So people have, they can't say, well, I don't know what to do. No, my run for president gives people an opportunity to get off their butts, go get a bumper sticker, put it on the back of your car, go download the flyer, which I'll show, and to where you can go teach your neighbors, and then learn the teachings that I've put together so you can become a guru. You can become the quote unquote Messiah in your neighborhood, right? You're not waiting for someone else to come down. So if we can take a quick, I want, if it's okay with you, Mike, if John can play that video.
That'd be great, please. I'd appreciate it.
John, can you play the video right off here, off Truth, Freedom, Health, John? Or maybe, I don't know if John's there. Maybe I can do it. John, can you do it? I think John's, you're going to do it on the Zoom, right, John? Let's see. Not sure where he is. Let me, I think I have it here. It's okay. Let me play it right from here. Okay. But if people go to truthfreedomhealth.com, you'll find there's a couple of very powerful videos right on the opening part on that website. And one of them is this video, which is it's a video on the Truth, Freedom, Health movement. But what we've done is we put together, it took me 50 years to figure out these concepts of what is a movement, what are the principles of the science of systems, which is, by the way, what the elites learn. Let me see if John is there. Can you bring it up, Mike? I think you can play it. Mike, can you?
Hang on. Do you need us to let you share the screen? Will that help you?
Yeah, actually, if you guys can just share the screen on your end.
So we need to be able to share the screen.
Yeah, just go to, yeah, I think you guys can share. If they can go to truthfreedomhealth.com.
So go to truthfreedomhealth.com. Truthfreedomhealth.com.
Truth Freedom Health. There's no and. Truth Freedom Health.
Truth Freedom Health. Maria, can you help him? Truthfreedomhealth.com.
Right. So people, if you guys go there, so what we've done is, my journey was really because I experienced these ancient spiritual teachings, Mike, at a deep level, but I also experienced Western engineering science, right? And I was always fascinated. Why is it that I saw my grandmother use these ancient systems of knowledge to heal people? Obviously, I saw it working. So there must be a scientific basis to it. And during my Fulbright work in 2007 to 10, I was able to make that interconnection. And it turns out that the engineering systems principles, there's about 9 of them, were the same principles that these ancient, yogis, rishis had discovered, but they put it in a different set of words.
Doc, check this video. Is this the right one we got here?
Yeah, if you can share screen. If he shares the screen, we should see it here on Zoom.
Can you share? I'm seeing a video. I just don't have no sound. Zero sound. So
when you share screen, you have to, when you hit the share screen, there's a little check mark that says share audio.
So you got it. There's a check mark, share audio. You got to get this check mark that says share audio, you guys. Share screen, share audio.
Yeah, you click on share screen on the bottom left. It'll say
bottom
share audio.
Left, share screen.
Well, share audio. You click the check mark, share audio. And then you can go to the website.
Yeah. We were on YouTube. We need to get to the website, right?
Yeah, well, he's on Zoom, just in Zoom.
Okay.
Text John. John knows how to do this. I'm not sure where he is. Oh, there you go. Good.
Can you see? Is that it?
Yeah, that's good. So just go to truthfreedomhealth.com. Go to truthfreedomhealth.com.
So guys, we need to go to URL, truthfreedomhealth.com.
Yeah, go to truthfreedomhealth.com in the URL. Just type in right in that. Type in truthfreedomhealth.com. No,
truthfreedomhealth.com.
Yeah. So, and I encourage everyone to go here. So when you go to truthfreedomhealth.com, so just stop right here. So I just want to let people know it took me 50 years, Mike. This is a system of integrating the ancient systems. At the core of all of these spiritual teachings are these principles of systems, believe it or not. So I essentially rediscovered them and put them into a framework everyone can understand. So scroll down a little bit. Just scroll down just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just scroll. Yep, there you go. Right there.
There we go. Which video? Left it.
2 important videos. Don't click on anything yet. Everyone, when they get time to watch the swarm video, click on the right video. And
the right one. Yeah.
Yep. And then you want to full screen it.
Full screen.
Yep.
And then audio. We need audio. There we go. Still on mute. There we go. Hang on.
Yeah, but okay. When you selected to share the screen, there's a little check mark. They should check.
So you got to go back when you.
Yeah.
We got a little language problem here.
That's okay. Hit share. You have to unshare the screen. Go back. Stop sharing.
Go back. Yeah, we'll fix it now. We got
Yeah. So now when you share screen, click on share screen. When that window comes up, you'll see a thing that says share audio.
Okay, you see a thing that says share audio, Elisa? Okay, where would it be, share audio?
John, are you there? John Medlar, can you do this? Hold on. John, can you do this, please?
Share screen.
Hold on, let me see where John is.
Okay, go ahead. See that you are sharing the screen? Is there a little check mark you can, no, to the left? Is that a little something you can click there? Still no sound.
They figured it out?
No, not yet.
It's very simple. You just hit share screen. A little dialog box comes up and you click on share audio. I just don't have an...
No puedo hacer el enlace porque esto hay que mandarlo allá. Es que lo tiene que compartir, lo tiene que compartir en my house.
So where's the share screen? Share screen, it should be a little button right there, guys, where you can share the audio.
There's a little check mark. You can share audio.
Ah, share sound. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. It's very simple.
Ay, la clave.
Mike
All right.
de este. Then, range 23. Pero pues esa no.
No sé, es la clave del computador.
Ah.
Es la clave del computador.
MOH 2023. Sí, nada más. Pero con mayúscula.
Todo en mayúscula.
La primera. Ah, no, sí, todo en mayúscula.
So let's keep talking.
You get it? I can't hear you, Mike.
This graph, everyone should be appalled. You know what this graph
There you
shows?
go. There you go. All right. It's the right video. You got it now.
No, ¿sí lo tienes? No,
Ah, no, ahí está.
está anunciado.
No, no, que si esto no se va a preparar. Sí.
La de abajo.
Es esta.
Ajá.
Two gray lines. All right. And I'll point them out to you.
Our
These are
country
all these
to
gray
be
lines
taken
of other
over
countries,
from
Japan,
within,
Germany,
and the
etc.
end goal
And the United States
is
over here. This
we
hard
have
gray
allowed-
line
You're
is an
playing two
average of
videos,
all those
guys.
industrialized nations' life expectancy. Isn't that one of the measures of life, liberty, and the pursuit of
¿Cuál
happiness?
otro?
Is it
No.
not?
Ah, dale en share.
That we're
que-
supposed to live longer.
Eso,
Yeah. All right. Now play that video. Yep. There you go.
our country to be taken
There
over
we go.
from
Thank
within,
you.
and the end goal is you will have a homogenized world where we will become slaves, because there is a condition among the elites that really thinks they're better than you, deep down inside them, that you don't deserve the freedoms you have. They don't. This reality is what people need to wake up to, and we need to all unite working people. There's only one movement that can do that, and that is the movement that we started creating here in Massachusetts, the movement for truth, freedom, and health. Look, I've been a student of politics since I was a 4-year-old kid, studying revolutionary movements, left wing, right wing. There's a physics, there's a nuclear science to destroying the establishment. To build a bridge, you need to understand Newton's equation. You need to understand the laws of gravity. You need to understand Poisson's ratio. There is a way to build a revolution. And that's why I put this together. My goal is to train an army of truth, freedom, and health leaders. We don't need followers like social media. We need leaders, but they need training because the educational system does not teach them history, nothing. So in 3 hours, that's what I've started doing. That's the solution. We got to train people first with understanding what a system is, the dynamics of all systems that affect nature. The second is understanding the interconnection between truth, freedom, and health. Freedom is the ability to move freely, communicate freely, talk freely. Without freedom, you cannot convert ideas, hypothesis into truth, which is science. And without freedom, you can't really get to truth. And without truth, you make up fake problems and fake solutions, which means you destroy our health. And without health, which is the infrastructure of us and our body, you can't fight for freedom. Truth, freedom, health. Third concept is it has to be bottoms up. Working people, people who work uniting. And what the right wing has done is whenever you say working people unite, that must be communist. Meanwhile, they've let the Democrats run unions, which suppress workers, completely corrupt. But when you look at the arc of American history, it's been when working people came up. We need to go local. Every solution I'm coming up with as a part of this movement, we're giving the science, which is the truth, and then we tell people what they can do on the ground. Like with election fraud, you don't need to wait for some lawyer. Our goal is to train people to go local, to go local, to go local, fight locally. Forget lawyers, forget politicians, forget celebrities. You've got to learn politics, and there is a science to it. They lock us down, we should be ready to shut them down. And the fourth part of this principle is a not so obvious establishment. So when you look at a system, there's always something that disturbs you from getting to your goal. Well, the biggest disturbance is the not so obvious establishment, which are those people who claim they're for you, on the left and the right. The Al Sharptons who tell black people I'm for you, the Tucker Carlsons. Do you think any true anti-establishment person will ever be on Fox or CNN? I don't think so. They both mislead working people back into the establishment. Without this solid understanding of political physics and theory, you're screwed. You're going to follow on the left wing, Bernie Sanders. Oh, he said something, or Robert Kennedy, scumbags. Or you're going to follow some right-wing talk show host. They're not going to lead us to liberation. It's us. We're building a bottoms-up movement, and that political physics, it's a nuclear science of change. Bottoms up. We have to organize to understand that there is people who talk a good game, and then look at what they actually do, left and right. I'm sorry, Sean Hannity may say some good things, but I don't see the urgency in his voice to get something done. And it can only come when you weaponize yourself with the right knowledge. You need to be able to identify a rat. You know, Christ didn't go after the Romans, right? It was the Pharisees and the Sadducees who screwed him up, his own quote unquote people. And that's where we're at. So these four concepts I've built into a curriculum where people can go to truthfreedomhealth.com, and it's an educational program. We need to train people in political theory. You need to have physics, and I've created that curriculum. People need to get educated. We need to get educated fast. And within a half an hour, I can teach people 2 years of MIT control systems. I teach people those concepts. Then I apply it, anyone can understand it. And then you say, oh, I got to build a bottoms up movement. They have to get politically astute, and then they have to go locally and act, not sit there on social media. They have to act locally, defy locally, do civil obedience locally, but with knowledge on how to build a movement. The Senate campaign's expanded to the Movement for Truth, Freedom, and Health, and they can find it on truthfreedomhealth.com. So people can sign in, they can get access to a bunch of videos. If they want to take a course and become a Truth, Freedom, Health leader, I offer a full scholarship there, but we want people to make a commitment that they'll study, that they'll get certified, that they'll go do activities on the ground. So go to truthfreedomhealth.com.
Powerful, John. So
Great.
how is this bottoms up movement? How is it, are the numbers, what can you share with us? How's it going around?
Mike, I think they've done something to your sound there. It's a little bit hard to hear you,
Oh.
but
No,
I think that's
no,
better.
solo
Yeah.
el sonido de Mike.
Yeah.
So I don't hear my question. So the question was, how, what do the numbers look like? The bottom up movement is it gaining momentum, and how can we help?
Yeah. So the question is, they've done something to the mic, Mike. It's a little bit muffled. So I think they're getting the sound from somewhere else. It's okay.
Okay. Yeah.
I think people heard it. But here is, so you're asking a very fundamental question. What is a bottoms up movement? Okay.
Algo está pasando con el sonido de Mike, pero no sé qué.
Whoever's talking should mute themselves.
So
She's-
they can hear you, and they can hear you, to somebody.
Your sound is coming through their mic. Yeah.
Algo
My
pasó.
mic is off.
El micrófono de Mike se apagó.
Pero yo no
Está
escucho.
sonando.
How about that?
No, pero no lo oigo.
Ok, dame.
Nope. Your
Cambiamos
sí.
Can you hear me now?
their sound is coming through clearly.
Okay, I'm good now, guys. Okay.
Oh, there you are. Good. Yeah.
Okay, good.
So Mike, you're asking a very good question. So the video that we played, and by the way, John can put up on our side every Thursdays at 11 a.m. and at 8 p.m. Since Thursdays are like a 20-hour day for me, and I interact with people directly, Mike. There's no other presidential candidate will do this, but it's an educational event. People come and people get to meet incredible people from all over the world. And first of all, they get very inspired because they realize they're not alone. people are overcoming the deception of Kennedy and Trump and Netanyahu and Joe Rogan. And these are the real devils. And you see that there's a whole set of enlightened people who are overcoming this sort of satanic individuals. And that's what we call a movement, Mike. So what is a movement? What is a movement? It's a very interesting word. People use the word movement. Again, the satanic folks will use the word movement. Oh, I'm building a movement. They'll even use the word revolution. Vivek the snake literally wears a hat called truth. He's Satan, okay? They'll say, Bernie Sanders will say, we are building a movement. Bullshit. What is a movement? A movement is a movement of consciousness. That's what it is. It is you're moving your consciousness. If you want to look at it from a spiritual perspective, from the Christian perspective, you're becoming a Christ mind, okay? Christ consciousness in some ways. In the Indian concept, they would call God consciousness, right? But you're moving your consciousness to appreciate these principles that I've talked about, that you start appreciating labor, hard work, right? You have a real hatred and an anger for people who are into bloodlines and birthrights and all that shit, okay? That is raising consciousness. So the individual moves in consciousness, and one individual who moves in consciousness this way sends out a wave of consciousness to millions of people around them. So it's very powerful. You become a light, okay? Know the truth, be the light, find your way. You become that. So, and the issue is one individual understanding this as a profound, because information, matter, and energy are deeply connected, right? Thoughts affect through the energy affect matter, right? So, you know, you walk into a room when you come across certain people, you can walk into a room where some very good people have been in some of these ancient temples, and you feel their energy in the walls, because information, matter, and energy, thought, are deeply interconnected, and everyone feels vibes, you know? You look at a person, right away know there's something wrong with this person. Anyone who looks at Vivek the snake, you're talking to a fucking car salesman. If it's not clear, you probably yourself are a car salesman, okay? And then you start recognizing that why should you compromise on these states of consciousness? Booby effing Kennedy tells people in an interview, personal integrity and public integrity are two different things. He's telling you, I'm a serpent. And by the way, the devil will tell you to your face, they're going to fuck you, that they are serpents. But the meek, the people who haven't raised their consciousness, want to be abused by these people. So I believe when Christ said the meek shall inherit the earth to repeat, he's saying the dumb fucks will get this earth with Satan living here. The people who raise their consciousness, and by the way, consciousness, heaven is not a physical place in my view, it's a state of consciousness, right? So that's what we're talking about. So it's about moving consciousness. And in my view, as enough people move their consciousness, that is a global movement that takes place, because it's a wave. And that's unbeatable, because once you learn this knowledge, right, the genie's out of the bottle. So what's happened, Mike, is, you know, since I was 17 years old, I realized the power of a simple flyer. If I can share my screen back here, if you go to shivaforpresident.com, you know, I learned that, you know, when I was at MIT, we organized a movement because the food service workers were not being paid right, or the anti-war movement against, so the U.S. wouldn't intervene in Iraq, or the apartheid movement. And so if you go to shiva4president.com, you'll find that we have a very powerful flyer there. And everyone listening can do this right now, okay? Download this flyer, it's open PDF, print it on a black and white printer, go to your library, you pay a lot of taxes to them, you abuse their printers, print as many as you can, okay? It's your property tax that you paid, okay? And this flyer, you can print in black and white, and a movement is where now you get it, Mike, but then you have a duty, it's learn, teach, and serve. A movement's not like, well, I've learned all this stuff. Thank you, Doc. We used to have people like that. Thank you, Dr. Shiva. You've helped me so much. And then they move back to their normal lives. No, a movement is you learn it, then you have to teach it, and then you have to serve humanity. So one way people can teach is you can take the simple flyer, download it, and it's an educational flyer. On the left column is the problem, Mike. Who is controlling the world to swarm? Who are they? Yeah. Who are the Kennedys? Who are the Netanyahus? Who are the Trumps? Who the system dynamics of this? But above that, there's a very nice video manifesting what they've done to the world. This is what you have. If you're in the United States, your child or daughter over the last 60 years because of the policy started by the devils, the Kennedys, and then consolidated in the 70s, have resulted in your child is going to have a shorter lifespan than you. This is insane. And
First
the world
time
is,
ever. Yep.
yeah, first time ever. It's also going, but this is not the vaccine. This is a
Yeah.
policy that has been taking place for nearly 60, 70 years.
We're being
that's what-
poisoned. The water's poisoned, the air's poisoned, the food's
That's-
poisoned. And in the umbilical cord of baby born today, there's 200 known cancer-causing chemicals in the umbilical
That's
cord.
just one thing, though. Some people can
Yeah.
withstand poison, they're resilient, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's the stress that's caused by
Yes.
income inequality. It's the fact that you go to a healer called a doctor. They don't do shit. They're just looking at their iPads, filling in so they can get paid. There's no. It's a whole set of policies. So that's what I want people to understand. It's policies. You see, since the policies of the swarm, people need to understand. It's Republican, Democrat, and people call themselves independents. Okay, they've all done this, and the realities now, and the only way out of this is a bottoms-up movement. We need a systems overhaul. So to those people who want to be enlightened, understand that if you keep voting for the lesser of two evils, you're really a fucking dumb fuck. Okay.
Yeah.
Especially, you know that our movement exists, which is an alternative. And by the way, the lesser of two evils is still fucking Booby Kennedy, who's only independent in name only. He's not purely independent. He's still dependent on Zionism. Right.
Mhm.
So you have to truly declare your independence from Zionism, from all this Satanism. So that's the left side. And then the right side gives you the facts. Here's our campaign video we'll play. It has a video that I just played for you. You have to understand the dynamics of the devil. And I made it easy. Anyone can understand it. And then we give solutions every Thursdays, as John has up there, 11 a.m. and at 8 p.m. People can go to vashiva.com/orientation or shivaforpresident.com/townhall. People can come and actually, there's no cost. We give it away freely. But that flyer is a very powerful medium. So consciousness is you learn these concepts. Now you understand why Kennedy's a freaking agent of the devil. Because as people start to break, Mike, the devil has, as people start to break from Biden and the Bushes and all the obvious evil people, right? Then the devil has put the not so obvious evil people, not so obvious, I should probably call not so obvious evil, not so obvious establishment, NSOEs. And these people are really the test of the discernment of the individual. Are you going to look at people's words and deeds, or are you going to just look at their words? Because clearly over here, their words and deeds did not match, right? But over here, you have people talking the talk, but look at their deeds. And to me, that is really the difference that separates the devil from God. Are you willing to give credit to deeds? I mean, I created the first email system. I worked until 2 a.m. as a 14-year-old kid in Newark. Well, when the military-industrial complex tried to hijack my credit, they didn't create email. They created a very rudimentary form of text messaging between computers. I created email the system. When the stuff went into the Smithsonian, these people try to seize my invention. Now I had to fight back. Why? It wasn't for me, but it was to show the truth that great innovations come from people working hard, solving civilian problems, not, fighting wars, and we should be happy we get some innovations. Absolutely false. So that's what this is about. So we've created a curriculum, we've created a community, we've created about 500 million people know about us. And this is what bothers them, Mike. But our goal is to not impose something top down. We're not here to convince people. But as people are awakening in a true way, we are finding immensely very, very beautiful people coming who are very self-reflective. They're willing to be self-critical. Yeah, Dr. Shiva, I hated you calling Booby fucking Kennedy, but you know what? I saw your videos and everything you said is absolutely true. And I have to let go of my ego. I have to let go of my own manipulation that took place on me on what words I should use. And I'm going to curse at these people too. And I had cognitive dissonance because I thought, and the reason they had cognitive dissonance is because the devil wants people to sit on their ass and not get off their butts and fight for themselves. So they were outsourcing their future to Joe Rogan, who's a complete fucking moron, or Fucker Carlson, who's the agent of the CIA. Look at his entire family. You have to look at these people's families. You have to really look at what spawned them and how, how they've worked hard, if they did work hard. And you'll see that the only thing that they worked hard, Mike, is to become better deceivers. These peoples are masters of deception. And so we live at an extraordinary time. A movement, a bottoms-up movement, has to be built on, number one, this consciousness. A movement's not just going out and just, Kennedy will steal our movement. That's not a movement. A movement is raising consciousness to understand why Kennedy's a devil. And then you go educate other people. And then you become a teacher, right? You become a rabbi. You become a guru, right? You become the teacher. You become the agent of change. And my view is about 10,000 people really understand these concepts. By the way, the elites learn all these concepts. I used to teach them at MIT to the elites. People pay hundreds of thousands of dollars, but we made it accessible to everyone. And the other thing is, when you go through this, you can give it away to as many children as you want. 13 through 18, there's no cost, nothing, because one of my mentors wanted to make sure that system science would be taught to children. And the elites are very against teaching this stuff to kindergartners. It should be taught before reading, writing, and arithmetic. So there's a real solution. That's what a movement is, the raising of consciousness. But the devil is very clever, Mike. He wants to bring people back into them, right? So that's where we're at, man. That's what this is about. The good news is our movement.
So a couple of things. First of all, you make perfect sense. Secondly, I couldn't agree more that consciousness is the answer. That's how we're going to change. That's our only hope. We don't have the money, the power, the weapons, none of that. We have to raise our consciousness, collective consciousness, not our individual. We have to spread it into the collective.
It has to be both. It has to be both.
Well, it starts here, but then I spread it to the collective. But I see two issues. Okay. So what you're proposing is a small number of people can get this movement going by raising consciousness. But I see the problem being, as you addressed in your Senate campaign and the presidential campaign, the machines, the ballots, the mail-in ballots, all that. Okay. How do you avoid that problem? And then if you do get in, what do you do about this dysfunctional Congress and this dysfunctional judicial system?
Yeah, so let's talk about there's a couple of assumptions I want to correct in what you said. So first of all, elections are selections, okay? And elections and politicians have never changed anything. It has always been mass movements.
Yes.
And this is a very fundamental fact that they don't want to teach in history class. It has been movements that have fundamentally changed the world. Politicians came much, much later. The fear of God was put into them. They were going to a revolution, or sometimes we had good revolutions, right? Yeah. Sometimes there were good, violent revolutions to get rid of these people, right? To get rid of these bloodlines. You know, it's happened historically. And the elites are very, very clever in making sure these fundamental revolutions do not take place and they can perpetuate themselves. So, but it has been movements, Mike, that have changed the world at fundamental levels. In the book System and Revolution, I define a revolution as a phase transition from one state of consciousness to another state, okay? So once you understand that, then that's the core, okay? Then you come to a point and you look at the world and you do want to be a warrior. You want to change the world. Well, how can you do that? Well, one way is you think you're going to just go shoot people, be a terrorist. That doesn't work, right? Because terrorism begets more fascism. They use the terrorists to say they clamped down on people. The others, you can say, I'm just going to go to an ashram or a retreat and I'm just going to meditate all day. Well, that doesn't do anything, okay? You just you check out and you don't participate. The third way is you come to the point you say, I want to participate in this world and I know it's, so the establishment, the satanic individuals only offer you two options: run for office, become a politician, or file lawsuits. All right. But they surely don't want you building a movement because they don't want you with that knowledge. So if you just go do that in their isolated worlds, you will eventually become part of them, right? Because in order to win an election and do that, you have to become part of the swarm. If you want to go file a lawsuit, they may give you some victories, but ultimately the judges will screw you because if it's fundamental issues. And I know about this because we were winning our lawsuit. We exposed the backdoor portal. The judge wanted to strike a deal with me to simply go back on Twitter, but drop all the claims against the government. I refused, right? And we're still fighting that, okay? But that's the fundamental issues here. However, if you have a movement, which is what we're building, and that movement, with the force of that movement, you're running for office or you're filing lawsuits, the movement is what you're building, Mike, and that's what we're doing, okay? So a guy like me wasn't ever supposed to run for office, an engineer, a scientist, an inventor, right? But because we had the movement for truth, freedom, health, what did we do in 2020? We're the ones who exploded the hell out, exposed all of this, because I went and looked at the machines. I did the analysis, right? So it is a movement that we're building, Mike. Now, think about all the shit we did in 2020, exposing all that. Now we have a global movement. And we're running for president, right? And in the middle of this, now people have a real choice. The choice is, do you want to build a movement? And even for me to win as president, Mike, it would have to be revolutionary. You would need a movement, all right? And the election fraud, Mike, actually occurs much before the election fraud. It occurs by how they do the selections of who even gets out there, right? The election fraud is not one part of it is the machines and the mail-in ballots. That's just at the end state. That's when they pull all the final levers of who the idiot that they want. But way before that is election fraud. Why is Vivek the Snake on TV? Why is Trump on TV? Why is Booby Kennedy on TV? Why is Tulsi Gabbard another snake, right? So they have 10 people that they manipulate, and out of them, they'll decide who they finally want, who will give them the best deal for the swarm, right? So but what would the real question to ask, Mike, if I'm elected, what would I do? I would do this talk like we're doing right now, but we reach 8 billion people. I know the presidency is corrupt, the legislature is corrupt, and the judiciary is corrupt. The best thing I can do, being consistent with what I'm saying, is recognizing my winning can only occur with a movement. And after we seize power in that movement, we're going to continue building the movement, which is to teach people, but use use a presidency as a bully pulpit. Oh, you want to talk about healthcare? I got to tell you guys, it's not going to happen through the legislature. They're all owned by big pharma. And here's how you're going to unleash real healthcare. All of you guys have to take care of your immune system. And I, as a biological engineer, will teach you how. Now I reach 8 billion people. It's over for big pharma because it's going to be bottoms up. Okay, you want to take care of the environment. The environmental policy is very simple. Go support your local farmers, okay? And when you'll see the hell that your local farmers have to go through, there's going to be a movement for the environment, a bottoms-up movement, not supporting some NGO. Okay, let's talk about education. Well, your kids are going to school, but they don't learn system thinking. Okay, I'll get up on a whiteboard in the White House and I'll teach people system thinking. The same thing they would have gotten at MIT. How much? For nothing, right? For the kids. So that is what a president is supposed to do. The president is supposed to be the leader. He should, one could argue, should have a very high state of consciousness. He should be an educator. He should be a rabbi. He should be a guru, right? That's what a leader is supposed to be. He's not concerned about building, his wealth, using the presidency to do that, like Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner did, or the Bidens did. He's there to serve. You see what I'm saying, Mike? We're in a completely different world now. So the questions that people have to ask our campaign sometimes are predicated on the old way of thinking. The new way of thinking says we got to build a movement. We got to make sure people with high states of consciousness who've put in the fucking work. I busted my ass to get everything I've gotten. And do you want to bring your child up in a disciplined way? Teach your child how to sit the fuck down and study. Not like, well, Johnny's got ADHD and I'm going to give him some Ritalin. Johnny's so bright. No, Johnny's fucking undisciplined. And you are making him more undisciplined as a parent. Right. You may have to take the cane to Johnny, okay, once in a while. And that that's in all the ancient teachings, right? You have to, cane meaning not beat, but cane meaning get boundary restricted, discipline. And you have to set an example that if you want to study calculus, it's not going to come overnight. You have to do problems and you have to do problems and you have to work at it. If you want to be a good athlete, you don't just throw a curveball overnight. You got to get a good coach and you have to practice maybe 10,000 balls you have to throw, right? All this shit is hard work, but we are not teaching people that. All of these candidates who are running, they went to prep schools, their mama and papa paid. They've learned how to cheat. Cheating, lying, deceiving is what we're rewarding. So this is very, very important. And, when it comes to Zionism, again, people need to understand Zionism has nothing to do with these ancient teachings. It is a made up shit that was done by Theodore Herzl to manipulate even the Jewish people of the time who were being discriminated, not to fight, but to say, let's go to some homeland that they created out of some 4,000-year-old reference. And then the British imperialists said, okay, we're going to put your homeland here because we can have the strategic area. So Zionism, the concept of chosen people, is racism. The only chosen people are people who choose to work hard. That's the chosen people. So they created, so Zionism is racism. that was originally serving British colonialism and imperialism, and now it serves global imperialism. And it's destroying the Israeli people, it's destroying the Palestinian people, and it's destroying the world. But the American working people have an opportunity because the American working people have been hijacked by Zionists. And you don't have to be Jewish to be a Zionist. You don't have to be Jewish. It's very important. Reagan
no,
was
Biden claims to be a Zionist. So
exactly.
it's a movement.
So
it's a political movement.
It's a movement. Zionism is racism in the service of imperialism. And the Israeli people and the Palestinian people are at the tip of the spear of that victimization. Yes. People need to understand the Israeli people had figured out the Satan Netanyahu. There were a couple of weeks ago, there were a protest of nearly 50,000, 100,000 people against him because he was trying to flip the judiciary, right? So he wouldn't be indicted. This is where it was at. And overnight, 2 weeks, he goes, sends a raid into the mosque on October 5th. Kennedy announces he's running. Kennedy 2 weeks ago said he was a Zionist, wanted the butchering of the Palestinian people. In the middle of this, all these people don't give a fuck about the Israeli people or the Palestinian people. They're about using philosophies, doing black magic to keep people in bondage. And that's Satan's work.
Yeah. So, Doc, is there enough time for your movement before next November to make?
Well, let's talk about time. Let's talk about time. You know, everyone. So, you know, the concept of the lesser of two evils, if you notice, every election cycle, 2 to 4 years, people think citizenship is voting and then saying, oh my God, I agree with you, Dr. Shiva, but Trump's our best case. I agree with you. Kennedy's a fucking lying, thieving, organized crime criminal. But, you know, he said this thing. This is again, the question that you're asking, Mike, comes from the swarm. Sorry, don't take it personally. The question itself comes from a polluted way of thinking. The question should be not about, do we have time? What are we going to do? You see, the devil's going to be here. He may blow up some cities. He may cause war. He's just going to keep doing that shit. The issue is not when. The issue is if you're going to raise your consciousness. Everything else happens after that. So the sense of urgency that people try to do, because that leads to choosing the lesser of two evils. The urgency should be, are you going to raise your consciousness in this lifetime or at a deeply personal level? Because if enough people do that, the wave occurs, you see? So imagine there's imagine, Mike, you go on social media now and you take what I've shared and you start ripping Kennedy and you start ripping Joe Rogan. Our movement's doing that. People are like, what the fuck? Yeah, because that hasn't happened. You see, they've used the not so obvious evil to keep people in check. But when you start bashing this, you know, the wall breaks. So we need the critical mass of that. And that's not a lot of people, because what I'm talking about is fundamental quantum levels of knowledge I've uncovered. It's like you've learned how to split the atom. How many nuclear physicists do you need? Probably 500, right? You don't need every 8 billion people to know nuclear physics. So that's what we figured out, the nuclear physics of change, the nuclear physics of system science. You can be very selfish and use this. By the way, we have a tool called Your Body, Your System. You can use that to understand what's the right diet for you, what's the right yoga exercises for you. It's taking systems. You can do that. You can use it to build a movement. You can use this for anything. But to me, the noble purpose would be you use this for helping your fellow man and woman, right?
Yes.
Children advance themselves. So that's an interesting thing with knowledge. You can use knowledge in a very selfish way, even this knowledge, or you can use it for service.
Betterment of humanity.
So I hope that answers the thing. This is about saying we need to create a movement. I just happen to be using the vehicle right now for running for president, because the only way someone like me is ever going to win that is with a movement. You see, there's no other way.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. One, thank you very much for your time. Two, you've convinced me. I've already knew you were a good man with integrity, with a mission. But to hear you today and the way you communicate it, and as we talked earlier, it does come down to good and evil. It appears that evil is more in control. We need to raise consciousness of good through service, hard work, love, compassion towards one another.
And Mike, and understanding you have to do the work as a good student. You have to be a
Yes.
warrior and a scholar. So all those things, but they have, and that knowledge is what the elites learn. The knowledge of
Yes.
systems they know. So the
Yes.
biggest thing, like Prometheus bringing fire to the world, is what I've done here, is
Yes.
take this knowledge and give it to the masses. Now the issue is, do people want to use this knowledge? So it's
Yes.
all those things, and you have to sit your freaking butt down and you have to study this. We've created the environment, you can study it and learn it. Everything is learn, teach, and serve model. But people have to do the work to learn the knowledge. So, you know, when they go to truthfreedomhealth.com, they'll see other people. They can see that they are the gurus. You don't need to go bow down to Sadhgurus of criminal, you know, or some guru who's going to ask you to bang him, you know, or to give him money, right? To sit in the front and put, you know, give you some holy water or something. None of that stuff is necessary,
Right.
you know? So this is about you embracing this and doing the work.
Yeah. I see it. I believe it. I thank you for your courage. I thank you for being a man of integrity and honor to take this stance, to come on here and speak truth. It's rare. I see the biggest problem in the world today is a lack of integrity. We lost that connection to the divinity within us. We need to go back into the heart, connect to the creator, and have the courage to do what you're doing and to join this movement.
Here and now.
Try. Yes.
And here
It has to happen now. I really think it's now.
Yeah, it's now, Mike. And that's why I never thought I would use these. To me, they were allegories, Satan, you know. To me, it's
Yeah.
very real. When I saw what Kennedy's doing, when I saw it is truly good versus evil. What I'd like people to do on your end, Mike, if they can go to Shiva, just like they did with Truth, Freedom, Health, if they can go to Shiva, #4president.com, and if they can play a video there, if they can bring it up, again, make sure they do the right things. I want to end with that as they're doing that, if your team can bring it up.
Can you get back to Shiva with the #4, Shiva4president.com? We want to end with this video.
Yeah, and then we'll, yeah.
Is
Great.
this it?
No. They can go to a different website, Shiva.
Yeah, you got to go to different website, Shiva, go to URL. There you go. SHIVA 4,
Excellent.
the #4, 4.
Nope.
No, there you go. President.com. Okay.
When they go there, if they can, and by the way, to everyone listening, it's people can support the campaign. Notice I haven't asked for money. When people give us money, I can't take it with the giving. We give people books and courses and etc. Okay.
Okay.
But if people scroll down,
Scroll down a little bit. Thank you. Keep
everyone should go
scrolling.
here and
There's a video.
volunteer. Yeah, we need to get on the ballot in every state. Stop right there. Oh no,
Are
no.
you on the ballot in every state yet?
No. Everyone, by the way, every candidate has got to get on the ballot. And the way you get on the ballot is you have to collect signatures in every state. So let's play this video here.
Yeah, okay. Let's play this. Then we'll talk.
Who would have ever thought I'd be running for president of the United States of America? I was born a low caste untouchable in India's caste system, a system of aristocracy, oppression, and racism. My name is Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. I'm an MIT PhD, a Fulbright scholar, a scientist, engineer, entrepreneur, and inventor. My family and I left India to come to America on my 7th birthday. I grew up in the working class neighborhoods of New Jersey, playing baseball, mowing lawns, painting houses, and coding software. My friends and neighbors were blacks, Italians, Irish, people of all races. As a 14-year-old, I wrote 50,000 lines of software code to create the world's first email system and was awarded the first U.S. copyright for email, recognizing me as its official inventor at a time when copyright was the only way to protect software inventions. I did that long before I ever came to MIT, revealing that big innovations can occur anytime, any place, by anybody. Growing up, I saw politicians dividing us by race and religion in both America and India, to have us fighting each other while they remained safe in their gated communities and in their playgrounds of Hollywood, Martha's Vineyard, and Silicon Valley. I'm a fighter. I fought racism and exposed their imperialist wars, fought for workers, and put my life on the line against global corruption. I never wanted to run for political office. All that changed when I saw working Americans as never before being duped by the establishment and the not so obvious establishment. Across left and right, we were being sold out and made to forget why we came to America and why America existed. Lawyers, academics, billionaires, celebrities, and politicians, elites, Clintons, Kennedys, Bidens, Obamas, Bushes, black and white have hijacked America. They printed trillions for their friends. They delivered crumbling infrastructure, corruption, and racism. They've transferred trillions to themselves, dividing black and white, fear-mongering, and fake science, lockdowns and censorship, dirty air, food and water, pushing drugs upon us, making us sicker. We've been sold out. One set of rules for them and another for us. We deserve a warrior with a history of courage in putting everything on the line for you, who believes in you, not them, who has created a movement bottoms up for truth, freedom, health. I've exposed their lies at the right time, never waiting until it was popular. I've exposed their false gods who exist to lead you back to them. I've exposed their fake science of lockdowns and masking and provided you solutions to fight them and win and protect your immune system, saving millions. I exposed Fauci, galvanized the Fire Fauci campaign when others remained silent. When they stole our election, we sued the government and Twitter in our historic 2020 federal lawsuit, exposing in bare view the government and big tech censorship infrastructure, the unholy alliance between government and social media companies. Where was Elon and his grifters? They stood by the sidelines and did nothing. They did not use their megaphones to help us when it could have made a big difference. Now our movement grows for truth, freedom, health, independent of all of them. Every day, millions are learning the science of systems, the knowledge the elites do not want you to have, so you may learn how to think, stand up, and fight, independent of the establishment of left and right and their fake heroes. Now it's time for you to join the movement, to win back America, to win back truth, win back freedom, win back your health. That's why I'm running for president of the United States. This race is about you. This race is about truth, freedom, health versus power, profit, control. We've had enough. They think we'll fall in line and vote again for their lawyers, celebrities, billionaires, and chosen ones from above. We choose our heroes from below, from the rank and file, who do what is right at the right time, not when it's convenient and popular. They can never represent us. What America needs is a movement by the working people, for the working people, who are educated, organized, decentralized, and fight for independence from their systems of control. And that movement exists. It's ready for you. We don't need them. We need us to go bottoms up, neighbor to neighbor. My journey, your journey are all the same. It's our time. It's time we had one of us. It's time to win back truth, freedom, health, to win back America. Be part of this historic movement all the way to our victory on November 5th, 2024. If you're an American citizen, pledge your vote now for Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai, the independent candidate for U.S. president. No matter where you live, you can be a part of this. Volunteer as little as 20 minutes a day. Don't delay. This is Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai, and I approve this message, paid for by Dr. Shiva for president.
Powerful. And it's impossible not to admire your courage, and you got one big set of balls. And I respect that. I applaud that. I appreciate that. And I tip my hat to you. And I know it might be a long shot, but I hope you win. I will support you. And how do we get you on the ballot in every state?
So basically everything we do, Mike, is all volunteers, right? So the best way, again, the reason we're doing this campaign is so people can get involved, right? It's not the way you get on the ballot, Mike, is every state has different rules. You have to collect different number of signatures.
Yeah.
And the way you're supposed to do that in the legal way, the right spirited way, you're supposed to actually have support, and your supporters go out and they go door to door and they collect signatures. You know what these other devils do? They don't, because they don't have any support, they actually pay consultants who you pay them and they go get the signatures for you. It should be illegal, but it's allowed. So in every state, so that's why they collect money, because they don't have any support. It's all top down. Bottoms up is people can go to Shiva for President, click on the volunteer button. People should do that right now. And then they can go whichever state they are in. We have leaders now in every state. The leaders will teach them how to collect signatures. They collect the signatures, and and by the way, they're supposed to also collect signatures. Everyone has to, but they cheat, Mike. Everything they do, they cheat. They don't. I mean, I've been out there collecting signatures. You won't find Kennedy or Vivek the Snake or Trump out there. In fact, when I ran for office, I never even saw them collecting signatures. I'm convinced they have a sweatshop where they pay people in some boiler room, and they're actually, I'm convinced about this. That's how fraudulent they are. We actually went and got our signatures. So anyway, people should go to shivaforpresident.com, click on the volunteer button, and you can volunteer. And every Saturdays, we have our volunteer meetings. So everything we're doing, Mike, is by the rules. It's all about people getting and doing the hard work, right?
Well, I want to clarify one thing you said about donations. You're not allowed to accept donations, or you have to.
We are.
No.
Okay. No, what I'm saying is I don't say, give me donations, give me 10. If you see them every end, what I tell people is donate. And when they donate, Mike, I actually give them books. Like what I'm saying is I cannot, in good faith, take money from people without giving something back. It's just this principle of reciprocity. People can say, oh, yeah, Dr. Shiva, you're giving something back by running for office. Yes. But when people sign up with us, we actually give them books, we train them, we give them tools, you say? Because the goal here is to be, my running for president is part of a wave of building a real movement, an truly independent movement about raising that individual's consciousness. So the volunteers who come to our campaign are very, very enlightened people because they've overcome Kennedy, they've overcome Trump, they've overcome, that's a very high degree of consciousness. So it's very cool.
Well, the only ones that get it are the ones that are fully awake, in touch with consciousness, who they are, have reignited with their soul. And then it's Ray Charles can see what's going on in this world. I mean,
yeah, man.
You know, but very few people have the balls to do what you're doing. And that's what I applaud.
That's what I'm saying. We live in a very interesting time.
Yes.
As much evil as is there, it's also a great opportunity to truly become an enlightened human being. And I think that's what we're at right now. Right now, that's what's going on. Every microsecond right now, people have an opportunity to overcome this deception.
Yeah.
And I think that will determine forget even the world speaking about it in some abstract, the trajectory of that individual.
Yes.
You know, your trajectory, exactly. Now, if enough people do that, then you get the wave of consciousness that occurs in a collective way.
Yes.
But I think people should really ask them, are you tired of being deceived, or do you want to be deceived? There are a lot of people who are fine with being deceived because they are part of Satan. They, whether directly or indirectly, implicitly or explicitly, they're accepting this kind of behavior.
Well,
and then
as I said earlier, Jesus said, if you're lukewarm, and what I think he meant, if you're not on the side of evil or the side of good, and you got your head in the sand and you're sleepwalking, I'm going to spew you out of my mouth. You are part of the problem, not the solution.
Exactly.
And so you got to pick a side right now in this world before it's too late, I believe.
Yeah, that's why, you know, this, by the way, these are examples right before 2019, Mike. Yeah. There were so many protests going on all over the world, and all of this was forgotten. And that's why it was very convenient for the elites to suddenly have a pandemic, right? Because there was massive bottoms-up movements taking place all over the world against global corruption, all right? Yeah. All of these in 2019, and boom, 2020, remember the LFS movement. But so they do not want people independent going out there. So as I close here, everyone can go to Shiva for President. So if you want to be part of this movement, here's a simple thing. This is a lazy man's way to get involved. Go to the shop and go get a bumper sticker. One bumper sticker on the back of your car, Mike, and you can just get one of them. It's like $5. You put it on the back of your car and it reaches 100,000 people per day. And by putting the bumper sticker, you're saying, I support this guy, I support Truth for Health. And when you put it, you can't have the bumper sticker on your dining room table. You have to peel it and you put it on the car. It's a very courageous act, just that.
Yes.
Because you're telling people a chosen aside. The other thing people can do is they can go to the downloads here. And I encourage people to get this flyer, download it, have a few in your car. We have cards, but this is a way we've made it materially, we've operationalized this, how people can be part of this movement, right? Yeah. They don't have to like do something extraordinary. They can just do the simple thing. That's it. And they can go to truthfromhealth.com, become a warrior scholar, right? Educate their children. We've created that learn, teach, and serve model, Mike. Yeah. And that's pretty much it, man. It's, the innovation here is the knowledge, and we've made it accessible.
Yes.
So the individual, while they're working hard, can still participate. Because we working people, we don't have the time to collect money all day and scam people. We want to be potent, and that's what we've created.
Right. Well, for you guys out there, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you've learned a lot. I hope perhaps you've started to wake up and have eyes that can see and ears that can hear the truth now. And here's someone that wants to address the problems in the world and try to help us get out of this mess that has been created by the elite. So, Dr. Shiva, thank you so much. And God bless you and keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. And thanks to your team. I know there's a couple of hiccups, but let them know that they've learned to now share video on a Zoom call. Okay. Thank you
so much. Well, all right. See you later, Doc. God bless.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Hey, you got a fan in me, and I really admire and applaud you now. I mean, yeah, you're taking them on. So
Recording
I'm with
stopped.
you. So
Great, Mike.
I-
Yeah,
I'm
let
in
people know.
Colombia, but when I get back to the States and California next week, I'm going to download that flyer and to give it to all my friends.
Yeah, give it to I tell them to do it and share that swarm video, which is the other video. It
Yes.
got like 40 million, 50 million views, even though with all the suppression they did. Thanks, Mike.
All right. Thank you. God bless. See you later.
God bless you.
All right. Thank you, guys. Wow. Did you guys see him? This man. Yeah. But he's